CBS Sports posted their latest rankings for NBA front office now that a number of moves have been done this offseason. And our Chicago Bulls did not receive a good ranking from CBS Sports and let alone anybody else. They came near the bottom in the latest ranking. Let's talk about it. But before we do, we got to go ahead and hit the music first.
Cognac gang.
Job Boys podcast with the Cognac Boys. I'm Cognac Boy Bobby, and I'm holding it down on another daily episode. So if you're tuned in, locked in, and ready to talk Bulls basketball, make sure you go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Man, the CBS Sports, they released their rankings for the top. They ranked everybody in the entire NBA. Their criteria included things like track record, overall vision, creativity, current success, willingness to spend money, alignment between all stakeholders, drafting, trading, value in contracts, coach hiring, ambition, self-awareness, luck, and whether or not there is a clear hierarchy in decision making. Let's continue to dissect it. They went on to say it's the same old story in Chicago. The Bulls' ambition doesn't seem to extend beyond filling the arena and ducking the luxury tax. The Bulls have failed on just about every roster building front, drafting, trading, contracts, any sort of coherent vision, all of it. Things are bleak when Jerry Reinsdorf is selling the White Sox to Matt Ishbia, brother who represents real hope to that broken fan base. In February, I assume the Bulls will hold the number 30 slot in these rankings until Reinsdorf sold them as well. Hey, a lot to dissect there. But when it comes to the vision, it's still a little bleak for me as well. I can't sit there and give the Chicago Bulls a full type of supporting because a lot of the things that they done these past few seasons is just indefensible. You just can't defend some of the moves that this front office has done. You can't defend the reluctancy to go out there and make adequate moves to make this team an actual contender moving forward. You can't sit there and say, hey, you as it currently stands right now before we see year two and for Montes Buzelis to see if finally you found another piece that we can kind of put in that Derrick Rose type of realm so we say now we have a franchise player. I believe Montes Buzelis has that mindset, but just because you have a belief, obviously guys have to go out there and show you. When it comes to the contracts and the trades, that's another thing that was cited throughout this article. They mentioned things like the Alex Caruso and Josh Giddey trade. They mentioned things like the Isaac Okoro and Lonzo Ball trade. Pretty much saying what we've all said around Bulls Nation. How the hell do you trade for a Josh Giddey, a guy that the team necessarily didn't want anymore, or was absolutely going to put him in a reserve type of role moving forward and not get any draft capital when these guys could have handed out 6 draft picks and still had an additional 6 in their back pocket, and you refuse to get anything out of that. So, and then when it comes to the Isaac Okoro Lonzo Ball trade, they mentioned things saying that, hey, Okoro and Patrick Williams don't really fit together as athletic wings who can't really shoot. Apparently not, is what they were saying, is what they put out into the Raptors for everybody to go ahead and analyze. A lot of us, well, I think the Isaac Okoro for Lonzo Ball trade was a split decision amongst Bulls fans personally. There was some people that was like, why would you even execute the trade? You know what I'm saying? And who is going to accept Lonzo Ball was some of the discussions on the other side, but what's done is done. And if you are looking at this type of stuff in hindsight, how could you give the Chicago Bulls a grade other than what they really got? It was being ranked 29th in the league. Now, this CBS Sports, they put the New Orleans Pelicans at 30. And I can't argue with that, but I'm not gonna argue for the Chicago Bulls on this. When you look at a number of moves that these guys have made, I think that they got off to a solid start. You go out there and you say, hey, Zach Levine, we're going to rock with you. We're going to get you Nikola Vucevic in the offseason. We're going to go ahead and get you DeMar DeRozan, Alex Caruso, Lonzo Ball. But then the Lonzo Ball injury happens, and right before the deadline, and there was no movement whatsoever that happened with that. Lonzo Ball, he was slated to come back in March, and then they pushed it out to April, and then they pushed it out to he's done for the season. And then in one off season, we had to sit here and famously tailor a word, continuity, and tape the word to our forehead because that was pretty much just shoved down our throats. Pause. The word continuity became a hateful word in the city of Chicago when continuity typically has strong results on the opposite end when you are dealing with some type of team or some type of group that is built on continuity. You see teams actually take steps forward, but the Chicago Bulls was like a tractor stuck in mud with no traction. The wheel was just turning. And the Chicago Bulls, they really didn't do anything. In some cases, you look at the Nikola Vucevic trade, and some people look at that as being a huge mistake. Me personally, I'm not gonna ever sit here and say that Wendell Carter Jr. is better than Nikola Vucevic. It doesn't matter how petty I am towards Nikola Vucevic. I'm sorry. And for those that want to make the claim that, well, we could have had Franz Wagner, are you sure the Chicago Bulls would have selected him? So they'll sit there and throw Franz Wagner out there and say we could have had that pick. Yeah, we could have had that pick and selected someone else, but it's not guaranteed that the Chicago Bulls would have selected Franz Wagner. Simply because we look at a situation to where we selected Patrick Williams, a guy that was a career six man coming out of college, and look how that has translated in the actual NBA. He wants to be a six man. He doesn't want to be a starter. And if he does want to be a starter, he damn sure don't play like it. And then we look at situations to where we look at Dalen Terry, and I'm starting to come around on Dalen Terry. I always liked Dalen Terry, but I was real reserved with accepting him being here long term. I'm still don't necessarily believe he will be here long term, just me personally. If I'm just giving an early evaluation, but I can sit here and say that Dalen Terry looked like he took a step forward throughout his career. I don't know what he's gonna translate moving forward, but I will say it has not been good enough up until this point when you literally could have had Walker Kessler as your center on this team. Literally. So you look at the Chicago Bulls front office and you just say, how can you defend anything greater than 29th in the NBA as a front office? You guys don't have vision. You guys don't have you guys don't make good trade decisions. You guys don't do or have a overall vision that does not say, let's make the play in. And even like hindsight is 2020, and even looking back at the situation when you had a Chicago Bulls team playing extremely well, some people is gonna say it's just games that don't necessarily make sense in March and April. I'm not one of those guys. I think all basketball matters. Me personally, yeah, you could say some parts of the season mean a little bit more than others, but I'm never gonna discount any type of basketball in the actual regular season. That's just me. You take it for what you will. You say games don't matter in March. That's your prerogative. That's your side. I say all basketball matters. But during that time, the Chicago Bulls was playing pretty damn well. And then we seen the Chicago Bulls and the Cleveland Cavaliers matchup just say to hell with it. And they sat a bunch of their players. And then you go up against the Miami Heat again in the play-in, and you got your ass sent home because you didn't do what was necessary. You tried to cheat the game after preaching that we're going to respect the game and we're going to go out here and try to win games. And you got bit in the ass like Pops on Friday by the dog. That's just how it was. So you look at those type of situations and you clearly don't understand what the vision is. You see a bunch of our reporters around Chicago, whether you love them or hate them, press the Chicago Bulls, and they sit there reserved and come up with these politically correct answers, and it's just a slap to the face for all of us that go out there and support the Chicago Bulls. That's why I have not spent no money on merch. The stuff you see me rock is the stuff that I'm going to continue to rock. The stuff that I bought years ago. I'm not purchasing any Bulls merch until I feel like there is a turning of something positive other than ending up in the play-in spot. You know what I'm saying? Because the Chicago Bulls, their plan was, hey, this offseason, we're going to take our time. We're going to stick to our vision. We're going to do this, and we're not going to cheat the process. We're going to take this by step basis. And when I listened to the end of the season press conference, a lot of these guys really just sat there and they constantly brought up 2026 like we're not living in 2025. They have futuristic plans. We don't have that right now. So, yes, I'm not always the pessimist when it comes to the players of the team, but I'm not never going to sit here and be naive to the decisions of this front office simply because they really slapped us in the face a number of times with a lot of their decisions that they made. If we keeping it real, we keeping it real. The Chicago Bulls front office has slapped us in the face numerous of times, hence why they should be ranked near the bottom of the league when it comes to front offices. Simply because another reason, just to add on, is because you see guys like Jason Tatum go down. You see guys like Isaiah Halliburton. I can't even, oh my God, Tyrese Halliburton go down. And you see teams like the Atlanta Hawks. They say, "Oh, we see an opening. Let's go be aggressive." We don't necessarily know what it's going to translate to. Games still have to be played, but the front office put their best foot forward to reshape their team and add good talent. Then you see teams like the Orlando Magic. They did overpay, in my opinion, for Desmond Bain, but you go out there and you execute a move like that to give yourself an actual chance in the Eastern Conference that has a opening. Right now, you might look at Cleveland and you might look at New York as those two teams that you can probably pencil in at the top of the Eastern Conference. And then after that, the chips gonna fall where they gonna fall. And the Chicago Bulls are saying we gonna stand pat. We gonna sit right here with it. Nikola Vucevic is still on this team, and he does not fit the timeline of the Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Bulls went out there and paid Patrick Williams 18 million, but refused to give Josh Giddey at least 25. And if you ask me, it would be easy to give Josh Giddey the 25, whether you don't want to give him the 30. It'll be easy to come to the middle of the table and say, all right, we're gonna give you 22, between 22 and 25 million dollars if you don't make the dumbass mistake to give a lackluster performer in Patrick Williams $18 million, thinking that, and that was the craziest shit I ever heard in my life. You gave Patrick Williams $18 million to think that money was going to influence him. Have you not seen the player named Ben Simmons? We all seen him. We all know him. He too damn big to miss. How do you think giving Patrick Williams 18 million was going to suddenly motivate him to be a better basketball player? Like, make it make sense. And I understand, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to some of the other decisions of the front office, when you say, all right, we got to get off Zach LaVine. And you kind of tarnish that whole thing by letting your dumbass anonymous reporter out of Chicago come out there and say he's not a winning player. Okay, so who said that? This is one of your own people castigating one of your own players and saying he's not a winning player. How is that going to help you get a good return in trades? And my thing is, when it has been decent trades on the table, you guys refuse to execute and pull the fucking trigger. So, no, I'm not going to sit here and defend anything this front office has done. I think if you go out there, you look at Montes Buzelis, if he turns the leaf, if you look at Noah Essengay, if he turns the leaf, you got to slot that in. We got lucky category because Montes Buzelis was not supposed to fall to you in the draft that he was selected in. He was not. So that can be chalked up in the luck category. Yeah, you had your pick, but Noah Essengay at one point was slated higher to go than where he was selected at in this year's draft. So I'm gonna slot that into the you got lucky category again. But again, where are we going to do? You're sitting at a stalemate right now with Josh Giddey. You don't want to pay him. You don't know what you're going to do when it comes to Ayo Dosunmu and Kobe White. It looks like you want to keep both of them. Me personally, at this point where it stands, you have to move one of them. You're not going to be able to retain both of these guys. That's the facts. You're not going to be able to pay Kobe White upwards or around $30 million and keep Ayo Dosunmu. You're not. You're not crossing over that second April luxury tax for a team that keeps going to the damn play-in. So don't act like you want to keep one of these guys. Make moves. Be strategic. Have foresight. That's what it comes down to. You see the good front offices, and you know that the Oklahoma City Thunder has been planning and planning and planning and stacking and stacking and stacking assets, right? And I'm not saying that the Chicago Bulls don't have some assets in their bag right now. They have all their picks, which is some assets. But you can have additional assets if you had some foresight. Now you look at the Oklahoma City Thunder. They lock up their core. They lock them up for the next few years, for the foreseeable future. And guess what? Draft picks galore. So now if they can't pay said player, all they got to do is go to the draft pool. And once the draft roll around, yeah, give me that young fella right there. We're gonna develop him before we got to before he's eligible for an extension. He should be helping us win a championship. Thus, that's how good front offices move. Look how quickly the Houston Rockets turn their shit around. Just a few years ago, the Houston Rockets looked like a dumpster fire. Like real talk. Just a few years ago, it wasn't that long ago. So there is a lot of these moves that the Chicago Bulls front office have made. They are indefensible. I have no rebuttals to anything said about this front office. When it comes to said players, I'm gonna have a little bit pushback for the players, but I'm not gonna have pushback for this front office. But I do understand, you know what I'm saying? For some people, hey, maybe turning a corner, maybe, but you got to be able to do a little bit more than what we have seen these last few years. It has to be much better. So for them to get castigated and be dropped at the bottom of the league, rightfully so. They're not that good. You who would have thought we would have seen a day we would have said Guard Pax was better than this bullshit. Guard Pax at least has some good draft selections, not even gonna lie to you. Larry Marketing, Kobe White. At one point, before y'all hated Denzel Valentine, he was actually a decent basketball player at one point. But then we just realized that was out the door. What about Chandler Hutchison, the next Scottie Pippen? And they did draft Derrick Rose, Jimmy Butler. Just saying. They hit more often than not. Right now, Dalen Terry's a question mark. Julian Phillips, we got to see if he separates himself. Monty Buzelis look like he's on his way. Noah Essige is a raw prospect who's got to turn the corner. Patrick Williams, dud. Just saying. But hey, they get what they deserve. They get what they deserve. And they will not be getting more money out of me buying merch. No. No. You're going to see the same old shit, or you're going to see some new stuff that I created on my own, that I done put through a little, design a little application and load it up to have my own damn shirt printed. It won't be supporting the Chicago Bulls paying $40 for a fucking t-shirt or $45 for a new hat. No. No, not for me. No. I love my team, but I am not going to be chunking up chump change to a team that can't even get out the fucking play-in. Sorry. But hey, I appreciate y'all, man. That is it for me today, man. Go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts and everything down below. I'm out of here. Got to go ahead and get to it. If you know, you know. But I appreciate y'all, man. Make sure y'all always see red, and y'all already know. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one for sure. Peace, y'all.
Cognac. Gang.